Barry Trotz needed to get that 5th overall pick in the 2025 NHL Draft exactly right. He chose Brady Martin. Let's talk about it.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. We are, of course, your free daily Nashville Predators podcast. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to kick off our Monday episode shouting out our Locked On Predators insiders and our everydayers who tune in to talk Nashville Predators hockey with us. I'm Ann Kimmel. I am a writer and co-host with Penalty Box Radio and Friends. I have a partner in crime.
You do. I am Emma Lingan, and I'm an NHL reporter and host with the Hockey News.
It has been a wild weekend with the NHL Draft wrapping up in LA. The Nashville Predators added 7 players to the prospect pipeline. Here's what we want to talk about today. Nashville really needed Barry Trotz to get that 5th overall pick just right. The initial reaction to selecting Brady Martin, maybe we all need 24 hours and a very good explanation. Today, Emma and I are going to outline the pros and cons of that Brady Martin pick. Plus, we're going to talk about the other 2 players they picked up in the first round. Before we dive into all of that, do want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. All right, Emma, you were out of pocket on Friday night. I don't know, did you have a chance to hear the 5th overall pick live, or did you pick it up in the instant replay?
You know, it was funny. I had to go to my other job I was gone for about 2.5 hours, and the timing worked out such that I left right after the number 5 pick was announced. Like I left for work right as the pick was announced. And by the time I got home, the first round still wasn't over yet. So I caught the beginning and I caught the end. But no, I did hear it. I heard it in real life right as I was leaving. So yes, I did catch it. But again, perfect time to just hear the pick, know what it is, and then go to work, put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and it could not have worked out better for me.
Yeah. I was at Bridgestone Arena. We had media availability set up at Bridgestone Arena. And so we were watching it on the big screen TV in the interview room. And I'm a professional, but I'm going to tell you in the minute I said, oh my gosh, and then start delete, because friends, I had prepped articles for selecting James Higgins and Porter Martone. So a surprising pick, I think, for a lot of people. We did ask after the 5th overall pick, we reached out, of course, to our Locked On Predators insiders community, great folks, and said, give us your one word for this 5th overall pick. And I think this is a microcosm of maybe the whole experience. So one insider said, typical. Looking at Trotz in the, quote, Predator way, I shouldn't be surprised. Another one said, complete and utter disappointment. Higgins and Martone were available. Another insider said, what? Do I worry when no one except Barry Trotz, I guess, had him higher than 8-ish? Yes. Now, here's another one. Foundation. I get why folks are upset we passed on the flash, Higgins or Martone, but this pick makes perfect sense if you're thinking like Barry Trotz. He's building a team in his image now. Structured, competitive, defensively responsible, but modernized with speed and skill. Brady Martin is exactly that kind of guy. Another insider said, and I quote, what the flagnog? And then went on to say, you know damn well Trotzer doesn't make a move without you. I never thought they would snooze on Martone and Higgins. I need scouting reports and reassurance immediately. Friends, welcome to the podcast. Emma, if you had to describe your reaction to the Brady Martin pick at 5th overall, what one word, and our show, our rules, you can use as many words as you want. How would you describe the Brady Martin pick?
I'm going to give my word, or maybe it's 2 words, and then offer some explanation because one word is not enough. I will say initial reaction, facepalm. Just utter facepalm. Now, the reason I say facepalm is because this is typical. This is a Barry Trotz pick. This is a really good culture pick. This is like a little like a Ryan O'Reilly of the future is how I would kind of think about it. So like he's kind of Brady Martin is kind of a jack of all trades, master of none sort of pick. And so I think that is the kind of pick that the Predators have been getting for years and years and years because they're usually picking later in the draft order. So it makes a little bit more sense. They had the chance to get someone with elite upside. They didn't. They picked Brady Martin, who is the safer choice. Now, that being said, I don't at all want it to sound like I am dumping on Brady Martin or saying that this is an objectively bad pick because it is not. But I do understand where the fans and those who are disappointed, I understand where they are coming from because with where Nashville usually is in the draft order, they don't have access to these kinds of like elite upside players like Porter Martone, like James Higgins. Now it's like, oh, this is our chance. This is going to be like the one upside to, this horrible 84 years that we just went through is that we're going to get an elite player with the number 5 pick. And Barry did not pick the elite player. Now, I get it. I understand it. And I'm not trying to convince anyone to think otherwise. I really do. I understand the disappointment when you have guys like Martone and Higgins. Remember when we thought that like Martone would have been the quote disappointing pick that Barry would have to defend himself against? And now it's like, oh no, Martone and Higgins were both there and he took someone else. So it's like, I understand the disappointment factor. I really do. But he took a center. They needed a center. They really needed a center. So that's good, I think. A lot of people had said they were going to be upset if he had taken Roger McQueen. Well, he didn't take Roger McQueen. He went to Land. So he's off, living his best life right now. So I just hate it. What really upsets me is that Brady Martin, maybe like even if it's not him, but like his family, his friends, his teammates are all going to be looking at social media. They're all going to be looking at the internet, and all they're seeing is we didn't want you. We didn't want him. And this was a bad pick. And that breaks my heart, not just for him as a person, but for him as a player, because he is an exceptionally good player and he would have gone high. And if you think about it, Barry Trotz, with the roster that he has right now, he has to be thinking about the future. He has to be in win now mode with the roster that he has. Just right or wrong, good or bad, that's where he is. And so he has to be thinking about, all right, I've got my core for right now. I need to start building a core for the future.
Yeah.
And Brady Martin is a very good place to start. When you're talking about building a strong, solid core, that is a good place to start because, he's not going to be, I know he says he wants to try and make the roster. Like he's not going to be making an impact at the NHL level this year. He's not. And, maybe not even the year after. This is a pick for the future. And I know people are not happy about that because they just lived through the 84-year long season that we just had, and they want to see a better performance, and they want to see it now. And so, I just think that I understand the disappointment, but can we also just like maybe take a breath, take a step back, and just recognize where we are right now.
Yeah. I just had a great conversation with Gil Martin, who no relation to Brady, FYI, let's be clear. He is the host of the Locked On NHL show, and I'm going to be on there on today's episode talking about the draft for Nashville. And he said something, and I thought this is so true. He said fan bases are generally always reacting to the last thing that happened when the next thing happens. And friends, rightly so in Nashville. I get that. Coming up, I am going to share my one word for the Brady Martin pick, and I am going to lay out why I slept fine Friday night when it came to Brady Martin being the 5th overall pick for the Nashville Predators. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you are all about baseball under the lights, golf out on the green, or high stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You are already following the action. Why not make it even more interesting? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are just out there getting sunburned on the beach. You can use FanDuel to track your favorite matchups, and the app is going to keep it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. New to FanDuel, it's a great time to join. New customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, Emma, the Brady Martin pick. Like I said, my initial reaction, I said out loud, oh my gosh, and then delete. But here is my one word to describe this pick. It's 3 words, and it is sleep on it. Everybody just needs to just take a rest and hear me out on this pick. Now, look, we've joked before on the podcast about like I'm a big Brady Martin fan because he's a farmer. First of all, the other thing I will say, this timeout, we're gonna just go here. Can we not act like living on a farm is equal to living on Mars?
Say it, girl.
I mean, I'm a rural Northwestern Pennsylvania girl. At my high school, it was not at all uncommon to be pulled out of class as a senior to go help the Lindells round up their dairy cattle that got out and were out on the football field. These are my people. The weirdness about the farming, like it's a legit gig, you all. Just the weirdness all. So let's just stop talking about Brady Martin's farm like he's living on Mars. It's a gig. It's a great gig. Hard gig. Y'all, it's a hard gig. Anyway, we're going to pivot back to hockey now, but it was so weird to me, the coverage of the farming.
It was like they needed something. They needed a gimmick, you know? It's like they had, you know, they didn't have, you know, like Disneyland or Matthew Schaefer with his mom. And I mean, like, it was like everyone, and don't get me started on that, y'all.
That's a whole
ugly
podcast.
Ugly cried. I had to pull myself together so I could leave and go to work. That's why I still hadn't left yet by the 5th pick, because I was still pulling myself together from number 1.
Yes. Yes. But yeah, it was so weird to me how they just were weird about farming. Anyway, back to the Brady Martin pick. Yes, I like Brady Martin because from one rural person to another, let's hear it for 4-H, the Shamrock Sheep Club. Here is where I think people are most frustrated. On the board, like you said, Emma, you had Hagans, you had Martone. I expected Barry Trotz to take one or the other of them. He opted for Brady Martin. Let's play a clip. This is a clip we put together of Barry Trotz and Jeff Kelty talking about Brady Martin. It's also a clip, Brady Martin just talking a little bit about who he is and his game. So we're going to watch this, and then I'm going to tell you why it's all going to be okay.
I think I'm pretty skilled forward, and I think I play the game the right way, and I play physical and compete hard every shift. So I think that's what teams need nowadays to win, and I think I bring kind of that mentality and the determination to win. So yeah, no, I think I bring a lot to the table.
The combination of the competitiveness that you hear about, the drive and the physicality, but his offensive talent as well. There's a reason why he was a trending player. If you look at what he did in the second half of the season from an offensive standpoint, what he produced for the U18 Canadian team that won the gold medal at the U18 World Championships. That's why he was rising the way he did. But we just felt that at the end of the day, he had the whole package for us.
It came to a little bit of a net factor. A guy shows up, all those intangibles, the work ethic, all those things. I mean, there's not too many things that are going to get in this guy's way. There was total passion on this pick, and we had good intel that a lot of teams had him where we did.
So I did see some people on social media calling BS on Barry Trotz, saying that other teams had him ranked, around 5. So I reached out to some people who, are much more heavily involved in prospects and scouting and talking with general managers and just that is a very different field, a very different level of coverage as covering a current NHL team, and said, look, are we out of the ballpark here? This person said at least a third of the teams had him top 5. So his stock was rising. Yes, if you look, even 2 months ago, 3-4 months ago, he was probably ranked somewhere differently. But this is not as far out of left field as I think a lot of people feel like it was. So I did want to address that.
I will also say,
Mhm.
from speaking with people who had been at the combine, that Brady Martin, a big reason why his stock was rising was because he really impressed at the combine.
Yes.
Everybody really, really liked this kid. So I had multiple people from other markets reaching out to me after the pick was made and saying, great pick.
Mhm.
Everyone loved him at the combine. So I agree with you. It's not as far out of left field as a lot of people are making it out to be. I will say, I do genuinely understand where the initial shock factor and the initial disappointment comes from, in the sense that, again, the Predators are rarely in a position where they have access to an elite centerman of the James Higgins type. And the upside was higher maybe with Higgins.
Mhm.
So I do get it. I do get the disappointment, but I'm with you that it's not like they picked someone out of left field. It's not like they picked a goalie at number 5. Can we just,
This is not as big a reach as I think the general hockey population believes when you talk to people who are much more ingrained in the scouting prospect vocation of this sport. Here's what I want to say, Emma. When you look at you're looking at Higgins, Martin, and Brady Martin on the table, and I think that you have to be honest and say there are pros and cons to each of them when it comes to Nashville picking them at 5. With James Higgins, I think you're right. You're talking about this is elite talent. But, we talked about this is somebody who is a little bit undersized. And I think you have to ask yourself, is James Higgins, his style of play, his physique a little bit, but just his style of play, is that the style of play that could withstand and compete at the level that the Florida Panthers played in the Stanley Cup Finals? Because when you look at these picks from beginning of the draft to the end, I think the Nashville Predators have been influenced by the fact that Florida Panthers style of hockey, I think Nashville believes that's the way it's going. And so you have to pick for the future a player who can play that style. So I think there is where the question is for James Higgins. It's not a talent question. It's not a talent question with any of these 3, but there are questions. When it comes to Martin, you've got a bigger size. You've got great goal scoring. I think you don't worry maybe so much about the physicality, but in Nashville's case, he is not a center. He's not a center. And so there you're like, oh, well, it would be perfect, except he's not a center and he's not going to turn into a center. So then you come to Brady Martin and you're like, okay, this is a kid who is big. He's physical. He's high energy. He compares his game to Sam Bennett, which is odd because Sam Bennett is in my invisible backpack of hockey grudges. How does Brady Martin even know? I think this is a kid who's going to be able to compete at that Florida style of play. And I think Nashville is trying to get on that train with this pick. But here's the thing that bothers me the most. Everybody is so focused on that they're overlooking the fact that this is a kid with offense. He can play hockey. He can score goals. He can score goals. He can dish the puck. He is a playmaker. He is not Austin Watson 2.0. So just because they're excited about his compete and his motor and his physicality, that does not exclude the fact that in 57 games, he had 33 goals and 72 points, that he lit it up at the World Juniors. So I understand why. I'm with you, Emma. I get that people were very surprised by this pick, but if you look at it, I think each of these three players had pros and cons you had to weigh. And I feel fine that they ended up with Brady Martin, because I do think he can be good enough for that 1C, 2C. 1C is going to be push, but I really do think that he is going to be more talented than people think. This is not just the Preds went out with the 5th overall pick and got a grinder. Okay. That's just the other thing I will say. You got to be really careful with player comparisons and kind of projections, because we've talked about this. It's wizardry. He can say, hey, I play like Sam Bennett. Who he's going to play like? He's going to play like Brady Martin in the NHL. And people are saying, you went out and you picked a guy who's projected to be a middle six center. That may be what he's projected to be, but that's just a projection. So
also Sam Bennett is a middle six center. So, and I think a lot of people would love to have Sam Bennett on their team. So just saying,
some may.
Maybe not Ann, but
some may. Yeah. The person that I reached out to talk about rankings had this to say, and I think this is a great place to land when you're talking about Brady Martin. He said, fans who are upset, give him 1 day at development camp. And people are going to get it. They're going to get this pick. I do understand, and I'm not trying to sell anybody. Barry Trotz does not listen to me. Barry Trotz does not care if I like this pick or not. I like this pick. I understand this pick. I understand why other people would have leaned more towards a Hagens-Martone, but I don't think this is as catastrophic as the initial reaction feels. I'm just telling you, give Brady Martin dev camp. I really do think it's going to feel so much better if you just sleep on it. This is not a bad gig.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it's catastrophic. I do understand the shock value, and I understand why people would have wanted Hagens or Martone. I get it.
Yes.
No one is here saying that's a ridiculous take to have. But I think, again, first of all, just remember all of this guy's family, friends, teammates, himself, anyone who's looking at social media right now, and all they're seeing is, we don't want you. Like, come on, y'all. Like, let's not, if you need to scream into the void, find a friend. Find a friend that you can talk to. Don't scream into the internet void, because that's just not fair. And second of all, I agree. I think that this is going to be, it's not a bad pick just because it's not the pick that you wanted or the pick that you expected. It doesn't make it a bad pick, but I do understand, why people have questions. I get it. And I think that we will get those questions answered, at dev camp, for example, and beyond that. Another thing that I want to add really quickly is that, there was all this talk about the Islanders were trying to trade, to get back up into the top 5 to get Hagens. After they got Matthew Schaefer, they wanted to get Hagens. He's a Long Island boy, bring him home. And then after the fact, after the first round, it came out that the Islanders had, I guess, offered Nashville 16 and 17 for number 5. They had offered them 2 later picks to trade up to number 5, and Nashville said no. Now, Had they said, and now, of course, this is all hindsight, right? So, like, after that, we saw Nashville said no. They picked Brady Martin. People are upset. But think about it. If Nashville had said yes, traded that pick, and the Islanders got Higgins, then everyone would have been upset that Nashville didn't get Higgins. They would have been upset because they would have think, if you had only kept the number 5 pick, you would have gotten Higgins. And I'm just saying, Brady Martin is a better option than what they would have gotten at number 16.
Yes.
So again, people like it's a lose-lose situation. People would have been upset either way, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm with you. I get it, but I am telling you, it's really this is a good pick. I have seen people on the interweb say that no reasonable person can defend this pick. I would give you my phone number and tell you to call me, but I really don't want people calling me. I don't like to talk on the phone. I am telling you, this is not, you're going to hear people say it. They're going to say it in a really loud voice. I am telling you.
And if they're loud, they must be right.
Yeah. Volume does not equal wisdom.
No.
Volume does not equal wisdom.
In a lot of cases, it's actually the inverse.
The opposite. The opposite. So take it, leave it, chew on it. I do think you need to hear it and sleep on it. And then come to Dev Camp and see what you see with your own eyes. I sleep fine at night with Brady Martin on this roster. Coming up, we're going to talk about the other 2 first-round picks that the Nashville Predators got. They were a little surprising, too. All right, so we could wax poetic about Brady Martin for a long, long time. We're going to pivot, and we're going to talk about the other 2 first-round picks. We weren't real sure what Nashville was going to do with these later picks. Are they going to package them? Or are they going to not? They made 2 selections. They traded up 2 spots to get Cameron Reid. Cameron Reid is a defenseman, friends. He is a left-shot defenseman, but let's not stone him for it. Here is what I like about this pick. And I was surprised about this pick because when they said they were trading up, I thought they're going to take a defenseman and it's going to be Blake Fiddler. Friends, we are Blake Fiddler-less here at the Nashville Predators. But Cameron Reid, I have to tell you, this is what I like about Cameron Reid. Played for the Kitchener Rangers. That's not what I like about him. I'm sure it's lovely there, though. But what I like about him, Emma, is I feel like this is a pick, and I am not making a player comparison. I am making a situational comparison, a situational observation. This is a pick that makes me think that Nashville says, you know what? Someday we're not going to have Roman Josi. So we need somebody. We don't need Roman Josi 2.0, but we need a defenseman who's going to have an offensive upside. And friends, I'd like you to meet Cameron Reid. This is a defenseman who played 67 games. He had 54 points. He is an assist machine. So I love this pick. Not the pick I thought it was going to be, but he's very solid defensively, but he has a lot of offensive upside, Emma. So for me, this was a reassuring pick when I stepped back and was like, okay, let me think about it. Okay.
Yeah. I think people were confused about like, well, what they traded up to get him. It's got to be someone really good. And then they're like, wait, who? And I think that, first of all, you would have said that probably the average fan would have said that about anyone picked that late in the draft. So like, that's one thing. But the other thing, I totally agree with you. This is again, you're building for the future. You are building your core for the future. Brady Martin is a part of that, and Cameron Reid is a part of that. And that is absolutely this is, like you said, he's not Roman Josi, but he's a defenseman who has a very, very high floor as a defenseman. Like maybe not the ceiling, again, not Matthew Schaefer, but he has a very high floor, and he, like, the way he joins in on the rush, it's just effortless for him. It's like Cale Makar, like how he just jumps in on the rush. And that's why his draft stock rose so much this year. So again, I think this is a very very solid pick. Again, understand the shock value. Everyone's looking at the roster right now and saying, we need a right shot defenseman. Why the heck are you getting a left shot defenseman? Well, you know what? Cameron Reid isn't going to help this team right now, but he
Right.
can really help this team in a few years. And that's when they're going to need him too.
Yes. We got a chance to meet Cameron Reid and Riker Lee, who we're going to talk about in a minute. And so we chatted with him, and I was like, one of the questions I wanted to know was like, have you always been a defenseman? Because offensively, he has got something going on. He talked about that. He also talked about his connection with Brady Martin. This is what Cameron Reid had to say.
Yeah, I was always defense my whole life, and thank you very much. Yeah, I was always defense. I think it just came naturally where I was more focused on keeping the puck out of our net rather than even scoring on there. So just from a young age, it was always like that. I mean, I've known Marty since we were little, and I know the type of player he is and the person too. It's just someone you want on your team. I mean, just a great guy in general, and just a good guy to have in the locker room too. So I'm just so stoked that I'm going to be able to kind of play with him.
One of the greatest parts of this weekend for me, Emma, was like right after we wrapped up this presser. It was during the what's the event called? The beer event. I can't
Beer
think
Fest.
of Beer Fest.
Fest.
I couldn't get to Fest. I could get to beer, friends. I could so get to beer. Fest.
That's the important part.
I mean, yeah. What you call it after beer is superlative. But
Yes.
right after we wrapped up that press conference, Wags and Walks of Nashville, I want to give them a shout out. They were at Beer Fest. Friends, they had puppies. And when I say they had puppies, I mean the kind you want to shove in your mouth like a cupcake puppies.
The kind that you so Parsonen, I had to drag him away from them when they were doing the puppy calendar shoot. Like that. Did you? Just little babies.
Fedor Svechkov had been there, he would have stuffed a couple in his pocket. Puppies.
Oh, for sure.
That's the level of puppies from Wags and Walks. They came in right after we wrapped up the press conference and handed these two hockey players, these two guys just been drafted, two puppies, and they were like, and of course, the media is going nuts over like, look at these precious little prospects, and there's puppies, and then there's me, and I'm like, oh, look, little sprouts, but can I hold the puppy when you're done? It was so
Can I
cute.
have the puppy, please? This is not related to the draft, but it is related to Wags and Walks. Just earlier today, actually, I was hanging out with a Wags and Walks alum who I almost said he was drafted. He was adopted. He was adopted.
He was drafted.
From Wags and Walks. Shout out to my new friend Waffles. That is
Great
his
dog
name. Waffles and of course upper management here, Minka, have become fast friends. But yes, he was drafted / adopted from Wags and Walks. So I can fully understand if you see those puppies, how do you not just melt into a puddle and just see?
Oh my gosh. I had Max Hurst take a picture of me holding the puppy, and I texted it to my husband that said, please, heart emoji. And the answer was no. But it was just the sweetest moment. Like, these guys had been run ragged and doing interviews and flying on a plane and going out and meeting people and did it. Time out. Here's an emotional support puppy. It was great, you all. I loved it. So impressed. I really was so impressed with Cameron Reid. Just delightful. I also was impressed with Riker Lee. This is a forward. He comes from the USHL, which the USHL had a showing at the draft this year. There were a number of players from the USHL that were selected. Riker Lee is a forward. He plays for the Madison Capitals. 58 games played last season. He had 31 goals, 68 points, led his team in points per game, was named Rookie of the Year in the USHL. He was 4th overall in scoring in the league. We're going to love him through the fact that he grew up outside Chicago and loves Patrick Kane. We're going to just work through that. This is a player who is not the full-size candy bar on Halloween, but he has a great shot, quick release. He is slippery AF. He can fake out goaltenders, backhand, get through traffic, toe drags one time. Like, love his highlight reel. Now, a highlight reel does not an NHL career make, and I want to be clear about that. But I love this kid's offensive upside, Emma. So interesting to watch his highlights.
Yeah, he is, he was a one that I admittedly did not know much about at the time that he was selected, but since doing some research and watching some film, I mean, I think that he's another guy that's got a tremendous floor. I think when you look at he's going to be again, the size is 6 feet, like it's nothing crazy, but he's very toolsy, to use a
I
baseball
love that
term.
word.
To use a baseball term, he's very toolsy. He has all the tools. Now, I think he just needs a little bit of sharpening the tools, and because he's young, he's very raw. But I think that when you have that baseline, as like he, to me, Riker Lee is a solid. He's going to be a middle six stalwart for this team, like in the future. And I think he's got a really, really solid foundation, like very high ceiling for the kind of player that he is.
Yeah. Here is something that has nothing to do with hockey, but I feel like you need to know about Ryker Lee. And this brings me great joy because one of my big hockey pet peeves, besides the embellishment penalty, is nicknames. This sport is trash panda when it comes to nicknames. Take a last name and add an SY. Heinze. If I had to hear one more person call John Heinze Heinze, I think I might have cried. That was the upside for me of him getting fired. Ryker Lee has a fabulous nickname given to him several years ago by a coach. He goes by the Wiz or the Wizard. And I'm like, Ryker Lee, it is now my personal mission to make sure that this carries over into the NHL for you. Because if somebody calls you Leezy, I'm gonna cry.
Yeah.
It's not
weird.
it's not good enough.
It sounds like sleazy.
It
Like,
does.
I don't know.
Yeah. So I'm not a fan of any other nickname that you may have, but I am here for Wiz or Wizard. So this is a hill I'm ready to charge up for Ryker Lee. Let's go with that. Now, also, it did in my heart lead me to go, I wonder if he's seen Wicked, but that's a podcast for another day with Zachary LaRue.
Well, can you imagine if he and Zach LaRue end up on a line together? You got Happy and the Wiz. I mean, come on.
Oh my gosh, it's like a sitcom,
right?
Happy and the Wiz. We have to make this happen, Emma.
Yeah.
Oh, Emma, out here making lineup dreams happen.
Yeah, I don't think that they take my input on the lineup combinations, but I'm here for that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. According to some people, I told Barry Trotz to take Brady Martin. I got several DMs saying, gee, I hope you're happy. And I thought, no, I'm fine. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm good.
Barry actually did not call for our input.
He did not. So. And, I wouldn't have if I were Barry Trotz either. Not that we don't know some things, but he needs to talk to Jeff Kelty and the staff and see. Dev Camp. This is my favorite week of the year. I like this week even better than the week between Christmas and New Year's. Mostly because my husband takes the tree down the day after Christmas. But again, podcast for another day. I love Dev Camp. First of all, we get a chance to meet and watch these new players like Brady Martin. Get your eyes on him. But I also love the ability to come back and you see the progress, you see the development of players that we saw last year that went back to the NCAA or to the OHL or wherever. This is a great week. Emma, what do you expect? Who are you excited to see this week? And just kind of what are your thoughts on Dev Camp?
I'm really excited to see Brady Martin now. I think that, after everything that we've been told about, like, just watch him, you'll see. Give him one day and you'll see. I mean, like, he is very impressive to me, like, from everything I've seen from afar. So I'm excited to see him up close and get to talk to him a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see him alongside, one of our favorites, Andrew Gibson. They were teammates with Sue this year. So, I mean, I think that that'll be a cool dynamic to see as well.
Yeah. A lot of great players coming back into town. Definitely worth stopping by if you have time. They also have the Future Stars Showcase next Saturday that'll give you a chance to get some eyes on some of these really great young players. There were, of course, other selections made at the NHL Draft. On tomorrow's show, Emma and I are going to talk about those round 2 through 7ers that Nashville came home from, talk about the theme we see woven through those picks. We are also, heaven help us, we are going to prep for free agency, you all. We're going to need beer, whatever the word is after beer, to get through free agency.
There is no word after beer
There is
in
no
this
word
case.
after beer. It's free agency beer.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk about what we are expecting from Barry Trotz and our livers on tomorrow's show. So make sure you tune in for that. Before we log off today, Emma, let everyone know where they can find you and your work.
You can find me on social media at Emma_Lingan, and you can find my work at the Hockey News.
You can find my work with Penalty Box Radio. You can find me on social media at AnnK_Mama on Ice. Let us know what you think about the Brady Martin pick. If we have said anything to make you think, you know what, I'm going to step back and I'm going to sleep on it. Again, tomorrow's show, we'll talk about the rest of the new additions to the Predators pipeline. We'll see you then.